Tignan in the air, deep right field. Home run. In the air into center field. A diving catch by Hallie Santignan.
It's the first pitch she gets. Hallie Santignan does it again!
Welcome back to the third episode of In the Box with me, your host, Hallie Santignan. Today I'm here with Brady, Rowland, and Chyanne, Ellett, and today we're going to be talking about the ins and outs of being a transfer athlete. All three of us are transfers, and I came from a different school than them two, but they transferred together, so special edition where we have two guests today instead of just one. So we'll go straight into it. Chyanne, where did you transfer from?
I transferred from the University of Memphis. I am a pitcher, and I'm currently in my sophomore year on the field and junior year in the classroom.
Brady?
So I transferred from the University of Memphis as well. I'm a catcher, and I'm also a sophomore on the field and a junior in the classroom.
Great. What position you play?
I catch.
Oh, did you say that already?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we even get started, before I ask you any questions, give me your background of why you transferred.
So I kind of caught myself being very unhappy, and it wasn't so much necessarily of where I was at. It was more of my mental state. My mental health was very rocky. I felt like I really had no support, and from the athletic side, that didn't help. It was the culture there was not very good. And so coming in and out every single day, it was hard to stay in a good mindset. So that was something that really hurt me. And that being away from my family also didn't help. I'd catch myself calling them every day, especially my mom and dad. Some days, I'd be crying. Some days I'd be yelling, screaming, being pissed off. And it was just a combination of everything, of how I was not happy where I was at. I didn't feel like I fit into that culture there. It's more of a bigger city, and I'm from a smaller town, so growing up, I knew everybody. I went to a really, really small school, so I knew literally everyone. I was related to so many people, and then going out to Memphis, being in the city, it just wasn't my fit. And I guess when I committed there, I was really naive to the fact that, am I going to fit in this big city? And freshman year was great. I really didn't have any complaints, but definitely sophomore year it hit home, and we didn't have a good year, and I could just tell that I didn't have the support I needed as a player, and I was not getting that from my coaches. Some of my teammates were there, but like I said, the culture there was just dead, and so everybody kind of had the same mindset of, instead of trying to go out and win, it was like we were trying to not lose,
right.
And it just sucks. And so when you're struggling and everybody else is struggling, it's like, how do you pick up from that?
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely understand that too. You being in the right place, fit for you, is a huge thing that I feel like me personally, whenever I was in my recruiting process, nobody told me that.
Yeah.
Like nobody told me there are schools for you and there are schools not for you based on like other things than just softball.
Exactly. I feel like, being recruited, I was on a softball team, and on my team, this is before like this is before the recruitment rule changed to where you had to be a junior of September 1st of your junior year. Well, back then I was on a team, and there was maybe 4 of us that were uncommitted, and I was about to go into my sophomore year, and I felt like I was being pushed and rushed by my coaches, and so going out to Memphis, I was going to get 93%, get everything paid for. All I was worried about was getting to that next step of being like, hey, I'm committed somewhere and I'm getting money and I'm going to have to not worry about anything like that, instead of it being of, do I fit here?
Right.
And does this fit me?
Yeah, definitely. I agree on that. Cheyenne?
I think that's kind of one of the things is whenever I was younger, it was more, I think that's kind of one of the things about softball and the recruitment process. And I'm glad they changed that rule because, whenever I was younger, as a freshman in high school, I felt like a freshman or sophomore in high school, I felt like I was behind
Yeah.
if I wasn't committed somewhere. And Like, that's not even, like,
No,
realistic.
it's so
we couldn't even drive yet, and we were picking where
we were
gonna
picking
go
where we were going to go to
school.
college.
And
exactly.
and for me, that drive was 7 hours. I didn't even have my permit yet. I was already planning on making this drive 7 hours.
Right.
And how do you make that choice?
Yeah.
Right. You also had to put into effect, like, everybody wants their parents at their game. Not everybody.
Mhm.
Most people want their parents at their games, you know. I remember I went on a visit to actually the first school that I signed to, and the coach, he told me, he said, I've heard this from a coach, and it hit home to me whenever I was getting recruited to play baseball. He said, if you ever got in a bind, you have somebody that will give you $20. If you can't get home on that $20, then you've gone too far. Which, I mean, that's a little far for me personally, being from Louisiana to here. But still, like, that hits home. Like, you have to think about, my parents want to come watch me play. They supported me through this whole process growing up. They've watched me work my butt off. They've watched me grow and turn into the woman I am.
Yep.
They want to watch me play ball. So going somewhere super far it's not fair to them, to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
that's just like a huge part of it. I'm so family centered of like where I am. Like, I'm very close to my sister, very close to my mom and dad.
Right.
Like, I see them as people I contact every single day. And so like being 7 hours, like they tried to make it to all they could, but again, like, you know, like if something happened, then, you know, that's half a day's drive. And it's hard to make that there and back. And so like again, like there are some teammates that I absolutely love and will continue to love, and I reach out to all the time, but you know, I didn't have that family support system there like I really wanted to.
yeah. Cheyenne, do you have kind of a similar story, or what's your story? Why did you transfer?
Mine was kind of, like, similar. Definitely just, like, the whole, like, mental state. Like, I just really feel like my freshman year, like, both falls that I had, freshman and sophomore year, like, fall seasons, they just weren't good. And I just felt like so much pressure on myself that, one, I put on myself, but I also feel like was just kind of, like, inflicted upon, or, like, by others as well.
Right.
And so there was just, like, so much pressure to perform, and it was like if you didn't perform well, you, like, weren't going to play or something like that, or you just, like, kind of just got griped at. And it was just kind of like, you know, she talked about the family aspect. Like, I didn't really feel like there was really that. And I maybe thought, like, our freshman year, like, we did because we were doing good.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was, like, the second things start to go downhill, that's whenever it was like, where did that family go? Where did that unit go? Where did any of our culture go? Anything like that? Like, that was one thing about Memphis is, like, I personally and stuff, contrary to her and stuff, I loved the city. Like, I loved being there and stuff. I gained some ties there, but outside of that, like, I care more about my softball career in a sense.
Right.
And stuff, and so.
Social life you can do forever, softball.
Exactly.
You only have a certain amount of time to do.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so, you know, and it was just kind of like one of those things where that's kind of what made it really hard to make that decision too, was just like the balancing like my options and stuff. And so, but definitely just along the same lines and stuff. I wanted to be closer to home, and now I'm just an hour down the road.
Right.
So it's like, it's insane like how I went from a 10-hour drive to I can go home right now if I wanted to and stuff. And so it's just, you know, and I feel like that's huge for me as well.
Definitely. I will say personally, I transferred way further away.
Yeah.
But I also had to consider my dad owns his own business, so he can take days off whenever he wants to. And my mom's personal trainer, she can cancel on her clients or work around them whenever she wants. So like for them to drive 5 hours, 5 to 6, depending on traffic, they were okay with doing it. I mean, they supported me through my whole process. But where I came from was very similar with the whole mental aspect. I used to go to Southern Arkansas. University was a D2 in South Arkansas. And my freshman year, great time. Loved it. Had the best time of my life. So I don't know if it was like being the first year independent, you know, like being on my own. But we went far. Like we won. Like we were a winning team. So I had a great time. Not to say that everything is about winning, but
it definitely
plays a big
role.
part into it. Like
winning covers everything up.
Yeah, it does.
You see the win column, and you're like, oh man, everything's going good, and you're like, yeah, we're happy because we're winning.
Yeah.
It just covers everything up.
Yeah, definitely. But like, so my freshman year, we went to the World Series. I'm like on cloud 9 on the biggest stage for Division II anyway. And then my sophomore year came around. Coach flipped the script like within himself and just towards us, and it was miserable mentally, had a terrible time. And it wasn't just me. It was whenever I transferred that year, after my sophomore year, 8 other girls transferred as well or quit.
Yeah.
Like, he drove so many girls into just quitting softball and just hanging it up and, like, starting their, like, grown-up lives, you know. And it's sad because if those girls, like, would have found the right college for them, they would potentially still be playing. They would potentially be a lot happier, which I am one of the lucky ones that did get out and get to transfer and stuff. But, yeah, like y'all were saying, like, the friendships also were a lot worse my sophomore year, I would say. Like, a lot more stuff was going on. We weren't as tight as a family. But I do have those few friends from there that I'll always have. Like, they'll be at my wedding, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, you have to think about yourself at that point.
Exactly.
You got to make yourself happy. When you're wanting to transfer, you know, you got to make yourself happy and go where you want to be. It's
literally a conversation I think me and Brady have had before, was just about how, like, there's been times where I'm like, people probably from our old team think maybe, like, this was a selfish move by us. But at the end of the day, like, I think it was, like, something we were doing for the best, like, for ourselves. Like, to be happier, that chance at, like, to be happier and then actually enjoy a sport that we love.
right.
And stuff. Like, get back to, like, loving it like we did before. And that's all that matters at this point. Like,
Exactly. It's just making, it is selfish to an extent. But at the same time, if you can't give 100% to them at the end of the day, then you're being more selfish there than you would be making this choice to go somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're miserable waking up every day, like going to weights, going to conditioning, going to practice, and you're not happy with where you are, it affects your playing ability too,
Yes.
which ultimately impacts the team as a whole.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, whether you're a starter or not, it affects. I mean, you can have a team. My freshman year, we had a huge team, I felt like.
Yeah.
And we all wanted to be there, whether we played or we didn't play. Like, the bench girls, like, the dugout and the field, every single person wanted to be there. And we had a great freaking time. Like, we loved being there. We all supported each other. It was awesome. Then sophomore year came around, you know, different mix of girls and stuff. Some people left, some people came. More drama with the coach. And then that's whenever the stuff starts getting said, like, oh, well, I should be playing over her because she made 2 errors and I didn't. Well, that's when once you start spiraling, it's done.
And that's part of, like, I feel like that was some of the culture that we're talking about. Is we see the division between us, and we had, like, psychology meetings, which is where, like, a psychiatrist would come in and, like, mediate our meetings. And I mean, it felt like every meeting we were going in there kind of saying the same thing. We are not being a family. We need to be a family.
Right.
We are divided. We are not together. There is bickering. There is people getting pissed off about this, about that. And it was over and over again, week after week. And, like, there was just no change being done. And you could sit there and you could say, well, you know, like, I had a personal story of I said something a little out of line to one of my teammates, but I approached her immediately the next day and we had it and we took care of it.
Yeah.
And it was more of just, you know, being in that mindset of, gosh dang, well, we're losing and, you know, everybody's pissed off. And that was kind of how it was. And I felt like that was something good that came out of it, is that we could sit there and me and her could have a one-on-one conversation, have a mature conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas other people would just kind of continue to go behind each other's back and, like, just stab them. Like, that knife would be wedged in there so far.
It was like, there was, like, the reflection of, like, what was going on with the team. And it was like, we would have these conversations, like she said, over and over and over, like, repetition and stuff about, like, what this team's doing wrong. But there was, like, no, like, application of change for it.
Right, no change.
It was just, like, you were, I mean, just saying the same thing over and over again. And nobody was even trying to change it or fix it. Like.
And that all ties into, like, the atmosphere that you want to be in. And, I mean, when you, like, if there's girls out, like, listening to this podcast right now that, like, you're in your recruiting process and you're going to camps and you're going to these tours and stuff and you're talking to the actual players on the team, do not be scared to ask them honest questions.
Yeah.
We're not super professional. Like, we're not, like, we're just a few years older than you.
I'm not going to give you a robot answer.
Yeah, we're just a few years older than you are. If you straight up, like, if a girl came up to me at a camp and said, how is Coach Campion on like, how does he react whenever he gets angry in game? Like, I would be honest and tell her. Be like, it's not that bad, work through it. Not bad. Now, if somebody came and asked me that about my other school, it would be a lot different answer.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we will give you a straight-up answer. We don't care. It's not affecting us. But, I mean, we'll probably be graduated by the time you get there. So it's not affecting us if you come there or don't,
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I mean, asking those questions to see if it is a good fit, because if you can't handle that, then maybe this is not where you need to be. And I mean, that's the type of questions I wish I would have asked.
Me too.
Yeah.
Back then, like when I was 15 and I was deciding where I was going to go to school.
Not your generic question of, how do you manage time? How do you deal with class and practice? Girl, everybody asks that question. You can find that answer somewhere, and it's different for everybody. So it doesn't even really matter. Ask the questions that matter. That's going to depict where you are spending that 4 to 5, even possibly 6 years of your life with the same people, the same coaches, and in the same environment. That's another thing too. That's huge when you're picking out what school you want to go to. Like Brady was saying, the atmosphere of like just the town, not even just the school and the team. Is huge what kind of town you're in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like what I was saying earlier, like I loved Memphis and stuff. And like, I mean, even just like watching our football team and our basketball team, like the culture around those two teams was honestly like really good. And it was just like, that didn't apply for any other sport at Memphis. And then like I get on campus here and like, that's something I guess I could like talk about in a little bit, is just like how this town, I mean, I've driven through this town and stuff. I've played high school games here. I've played against Stephenville in high school. Like, and I remember in high school, like, I was like, I really don't want to go to Tarleton. And then what was I thinking? Like, I come here and I'm absolutely in love with it here. And I'm having, like, the time of my life right now. And it's just, like, that was just something, too, about, like, whenever I was younger, like, I, like, again, like, had this, like, pressure to, like, go to a big D1 or go somewhere big and stuff, and it was just like I never even like considered to even think about like other things like that and stuff. So.
Exactly.
Everybody always has this pipe dream. I feel like oh, I want to go far away from home. I want to go away. I always had that mindset. Like which I hated my hometown. There was nothing there for me. Like I didn't care for my hometown at all. But so I was always like, I want to go far. And that's whenever that coach told me, he was like, the first school I signed to was an hour and a half away. So he was like, you can get home on a tank of gas, like just trying to talk me into coming, whatever. But whenever I re-signed to the school I actually attended to first, I almost didn't want to go because it was too close to home, because it was an hour 15 drive. I had never even heard of the school before until my best friend committed there. So it's not like it was too close that I was like, oh, I'm going to run into my mom at Walmart,
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, oh, it's only an hour away? I'm not going. It's too close. I didn't even know the place. In college, honestly, my first year, we had 1 or 2 girls on the team that were from the town that I went to school in. They didn't hardly go home. They didn't see their parents. And the cool thing is they could go home to go eat dinner or something, go see the fam. And you start to miss them. But once you get into college, everything is like left behind, whether you're an hour away from home or you're 10 hours away from home. I feel like being in the college environment and everything, it's the same no matter how far you are.
So like when I was growing up, I mean, gosh, I went to a tiny town. I graduated with 46 people. So like all my friends, like we were close, but I can't tell you how many times I'd like miss out on stuff because I'd be playing travel ball.
Right.
So I feel like this is my experience to actually like enjoy life with the people I'm with. So it's a lot different than being with, my family every single day, because like your friends become your family. And that's what I love about this, is because at Memphis it was hard to, go out and just ride around and just mess around and just have fun. Whereas here you can literally you can do that. Like, we get to go hang out all the time, and I just love it. It's something that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, like you were saying, because we're out here in the middle of the country, we can do anything. Like the other day, we went and watched sunset together, which y'all probably couldn't. Y'all probably would have to drive like 30 minutes at least.
Yeah,
at Memphis.
You'd have
probably
to,
even
agree,
more
if we'd
than
have
that.
to drive out to Eads or Collier.
Yeah,
it's a far drive
Really?
from where we live.
Yeah,
to be able to watch it like how we did, and Stephenville just got, I don't know, it's got this vibe, and I just love it.
Yeah. I'm from a small, like, country town, too, and whenever I was picking out my college, I did not want that. Like, I was not country. Like, I went through a little phase in high school. It didn't mean anything, you know? But, like, but, like, I did not want country. I did not want small town. And what do? I go to Magnolia, Arkansas. The population's, like, maybe 2,000.
Oh, goodness.
So that town closed in on me so fast.
Mm-hmm.
After my first year, like, living it up, living the good life, being free, you know, after the honeymoon phase of college settled out, I hated it, man. The town was closing in on me.
Mm-hmm.
The people my sophomore year weren't fantastic,
Yeah.
but still have a few close friends, like I was saying. But definitely, what you like town-wise plays a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
Stephenville's not even is not a big town.
No.
If y'all saw Magnolia, Arkansas, it is like, honest to God, the size of campus plus Washington Street.
That's like Culver. That's like
Yeah.
where I'm from. Like that, we have 1,500 population.
It's tiny, and we had 3 places to go eat. I felt like
Mm.
we had like the most basic of chains, and we had a million Mexican restaurants, and like that was it. So it was like, what do y'all want to eat? Oh, Mexican, like, you know.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But yeah, but Stephenville, like I was saying, it's not even that much of a bigger town. Like, it is a much bigger town, but like it's not a big town. But I love it here, and
Yeah.
it's big enough and it's small enough where I can
Exactly.
do everything. And like
It
me
really is.
personally, like I like to go hiking per se. I'm an hour and a half away from like Texas' most beautiful hiking spot. You know, it's like what you like to do outside of softball also affects
Yeah.
It does.
where you need to go to school.
Yes.
Life does not revolve around your sport.
No.
And that's what I wish I would have
Yeah.
known, because going into Memphis, it was like, I got school, I've got weights, I've got conditioning, I've got softball. Hey, it's okay to relax and like go and hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 years to do that, and I finally feel like I'm able to relax and do that now instead
Yeah.
of like understanding that back then, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so now I'm going to get off of the chat and more into like a more dialed down question that I feel like is very helpful. When did you start to get the idea that you wanted to make a school change?
So I'm not gonna lie, freshman year I talked about how it was really great, but I will say that like going into quarantine after we got shut down after COVID,
That was y'all's freshman year.
that was our freshman year, and that's the most time I've spent with my family and my sisters in my entire life without us having to run around somewhere. And I mean, it was only for 3 months, 4 months, if that.
Yeah.
And it was just something that I took to heart. My youngest sister, she struggled with anxiety really, really bad, and she was on medication, and that time period was good for her to spend time with us, and she was able to get off of her medication and focus
That's
on
awesome.
how to how to deal with that in her everyday life. And being able to connect with them like that, it really meant a lot. And then going into sophomore year, fall was really good. I had a really good fall. And then going into the spring, I could just feel a shift. And I don't know if it was just me personally, but then once we started playing, I noticed that it was everybody. And I really felt like it was because we didn't get to spend much time as a team together, especially in the fall because of COVID and all the protocols and stuff. And so really for me, I feel like probably a little bit of it might have started in quarantine, and then it really hit me like probably our 4th or 5th week going into the season. I was like, man, I'm just not happy right now. And I'd call my mom and dad, and I'd be like, man, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, everything is just not working. And it just kind of sucks. And I hate to say that, like, COVID had a part in it, but when you get to spend that much time with your family and you've never done that in your entire life, it really takes a toll on you to go into not seeing them, because if you go home, you've got to quarantine
Right.
when you come back.
Yeah, definitely. We had some super strict rules too, and like y'all were far away. I'm far away here, so like during the COVID stuff, I think I went home for maybe Memorial Day
Yeah.
or Labor Day, not Memorial Day. I think I might have went home for Labor Day, but other than that, I didn't go home for Thanksgiving, just because it's so far also. But like I didn't want to have to miss my last week of like fall camp pretty much, like the hard stuff, because I had to quarantine because I had to go home.
Exactly.
For me and stuff, I'm not gonna lie, for the longest time, because like I had like certain attachments to Memphis and stuff at the time, like I kept like putting it off. Like I didn't even want to like really think about it. And I mean, there was one night after a game that like both of our families were at our house and we were all sitting out on our back porch and we were talking about it, and I just broke down in tears because like it was just like a moment of like I didn't know what to do and stuff. Like it was this overwhelming feeling of like I have no idea what to do. And I would consider for a second and then I would stop. I would consider and then I'd be like, no, like I'm gonna stay. And then it was like going into this summer, my parents were very supportive of whichever decision I wanted to go with and stuff. And then like going into the summer, like I still was like, I'm staying. And then I told Brady this and stuff. We went and worked. She invited me up to coach a tournament with her, and I went up there and like a few days before and stuff, that tournament, she had texted me and was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like I decided to go into the portal, and just this overwhelming feeling hit me of like, do it. Like, I don't know, like you just do it and stuff. And I had a lot of hard conversations with my parents. Me and her talked a lot at that tournament and stuff. And I told her, like, she kind of was the one that just pushed me over the edge to make the decision because, like, we've been playing together since we were freshmen in high school, basically. And so, she's been my catcher since then. And we just, like, have this bond. And I was just like, I really feel like I need to go with her and stuff. And so, and here I am, like, more than thankful that I did.
Good.
And so, it was a very, very hard time and stuff. And, it was just, I didn't, for the longest time, I really didn't know what to do. And I kept trying to talk myself into, like, just sticking through with it and seeing how one more season went. But then I was like, but if you stay for one more season, then that's another season that you may lose out on, that you may be unhappy or even unhappier, like, stuff like that. And so,
but then you also have the angel on your shoulder being like, no, just stay. It'll get better.
Yeah.
It'll get better. I had that one a lot because I was like, well, last year was so good. Like, maybe we just had a bad year. Maybe it's just a bad year. But
I can just remember us having that conversation that night and, sitting there and, like, you have, like, my mom and dad were exactly the same way. Like, if you want to stay, we're going to support you. Mm-hmm. If you want to leave, we want to support you. Hell, if you want to quit, we're going to support you. Because it's kind of getting to the point where I remember my mom telling me this, like, so loud and clear that I'd rather see you happy and not playing softball than see you miserable and playing softball. I just remember that night, I just was so honest with her and I was like, listen, like, I think you're so good and you're just not getting the support that you need here. And I was kind of the same way. Like, we're in the middle of the season. The last thing you want to think of is transferring. The last thing you want to think about is leaving your family. But I knew, Chyanne had been she is my best friend that I have here at school because, like, I've known her so long. We've lived together. We've lived together every year we've been in school. And I knew just sitting there that night, I was like, I just, I couldn't imagine leaving her if she decided to stay. But at the same time, like, I can't do this to myself anymore. And, that's just how it is.
Yeah, leaving the mental battle between, like, should I leave my friends? Like, what's it going to do to them?
Yes.
It's crazy, which we kind of touched on it earlier, but I wanted to make a point about that, is if they're really your friends, they're going to support you through whatever. Exactly. Because when I left, like, I had this really good friend, which I don't think she'd be mad about me talking about it. I hope not, because we're cool now. But whenever I left, whenever I first got here, I made, like, this stupid post on Snapchat of a sushi bowl. And all I said was, SAU could never. I was not trying to, like, diss on SAU for anything. Like, I'm thankful for the time I had there. I learned from there. I grew from there. But, like, it's just not where I was supposed to be. But she just got super mad about that, which I can see now looking at it from her side, like, where it could be misinterpreted, But I was just talking about the food because, like I was saying earlier, all we had was Mexican. So I had sushi. I was living, And she said something to me about it, and it was not nice. And we didn't talk for months until, I drove down. It was COVID. So it was almost an entire year that I had not talked to her. And then COVID hit, and we had a couple girls on that team that were from Hawaii and Utah, like super far away. And I was like, I could potentially never see them again. Because, like, especially Raya from Hawaii, like, it's not easy to be like, hey, girl, let's meet up and hang out, let's catch up.
Yeah.
Like, she lives so far away. So I was just like, 2 days after, like, COVID got canceled, or season got canceled because of COVID, and we're still trying to figure out what was going on, I drove down there, and I, like, intended on staying in Vic's apartment, the one that was mad at me, with her roommate. And I was like, look, I don't want to start anything with Vic. Like, I don't want her to be mad. Like, I can drive home if I have to. Like, it's fine. Like, just let me know. Well, she texted me, and she was like, look, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. We made up, and it was good. But all that for just to say that if they're really your friends, they'll be happy for you and happy that you made a decision that was better for you.
Exactly.
Happier. Just it's crazy. Just like I'm sitting here thinking about like everything that I went through to be where I am today.
Exactly.
It's like it's making my mind roll off. But the transfer process is definitely different for everybody. Like me personally, when I decided like that I was gonna make a school change, I was terrified to tell anybody. And I don't know where the thought just popped in my head. Like, I'm not happy here. This town's closing in on me. I want to go somewhere else. Well, me personally, whenever I get a thought in my head that's going to change my life, I can't get it off my head. And so I sat on it for weeks before I finally said something to my parents. I was scared that my parents were going to be mad at me, which nothing against my parents. Like, they love me to death. They support me in everything, and they always have. So I don't know why I thought that, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, they've put so much into this, you know? And I was terrified, and I finally just told my mom one day, and she was like, well, just really think on it. Just really think on it, pray on it. Like, if you're not supposed to be here, then you won't. It'll all work out. It'll be fine. But it's not that simple. Your mind just gets rolling, and I couldn't even – it was in the middle of season for me whenever I started getting that thought. And I transferred during a regular year before COVID. So I had to sit on that thought for like 2 months and just really really process it and break it down in my head. Like every thought possible came to my mind, all the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. I'm like, I could be happy, but then again, it's also a gamble because what if I don't get picked up? Then
I literally thought that.
It's like, that was a huge one for me. I was like, this is literally gambling, like, with my future, essentially.
Your softball career.
Literally.
And I remember, like, I was, like, telling my parents, one of my excuses was, like, well, what if I go somewhere else and I'm not happy there either? Or, like, I'm even unhappier. Like, it was a gamble, like you said. Just felt like a risk that I was taking. And it just, I don't know, like, it just kind of, like, felt like a risk that God was like, take it, like, do it.
Like, you talked about sitting on it for so long, and gosh, there'd be nights I would literally just lay in bed and pray for, like, hours. There was, right after season was over and we were still in Memphis, I just remember just, like, God, I was like, I don't know what to do right now. If you've got a plan, please let me know. And it'd be, like, the same prayer over and over. I was like, whatever you have, whatever you're wanting me to do, let me know. Like, your will be done either way. The outcome, you have it already set up for me, and I just have to trust that.
Right.
And that was just something that really held me in place and kept me centered. Even though my mind was going 90 to nothing in my prayer life, it was more of, okay, just trust it, and it'll be okay. And then, I mean, I can't be more thankful.
Yeah.
Asking for the release is the scariest part.
Oh,
the shortest,
my gosh.
scariest part. I walked in there, and what was so awful too was I had not told anybody because I was terrified. I was like, if I tell any of my teammates and they tell somebody else and it somehow gets back to coach, like, I'm not gonna get to play at regionals. Like, I'm not gonna play in conference tournament. Like, all these things. So, like, you don't even have anybody to vent about it to except your parents, because, like, you can trust your people. But can you really trust your people with something that it literally would depend on your life, like depict your life? And walking into my exit meeting, like, I knew what I was gonna say. On the way back from regionals, I told like my people then, and I was like, look, I'm not staying. And it had good feedback and not good feedback, you know.
Yeah.
But and especially we were on a bus for like 10 hours. We were at Central.
Yeah.
We were in Central Oklahoma actually.
Oh yeah.
So it was a good little drive. But yeah, good feedback, not good feedback. But but I walked in there to my exit meeting. I sat down. I was shaking. I was so nervous.
Sweaty palms.
I was pacing around the locker room before, and my best friend was right before me, and she was just good. And she started her life now. She's happy. Got a happy family now. Got a little kid, and she was before me, and she came out and she was bawling. I was like, oh no. I was like, this isn't gonna be good. This is not gonna be good, and I was freaking out. But I went in there and I sat down and I was like, I want my release, and he just looked at me and he was like, what? And I was like, this isn't my fit here anymore. Like, this isn't where I want to be. I also told him that it was because they didn't have the true major that I wanted, which was true in turn. Like, now I'm doing a major that much better fits me, and I want to do way more. But I was like, they just don't have the right program for me anymore. But I was also terrified that he wasn't going to give me my release. So, if I went in there and I was honest, he would have been like, nope. Yeah. Like, I was scared he was going to be like, nope, sorry, you got to take a gap year. But he started shaking after I said that. And when I said that, though, I was, like, so settled. Like, I was at peace.
Oh, my goodness. So, I had waited a little while after I'd gotten home, prayed about it, talked to my parents, trying to see, are there any ideas of any schools of where I may want to go if this is what I'm going to do? And it's like the Tuesday morning, the College World Series finals are on. Like, I'm watching every game, and I hear all these stories about, Mike Hendry and all the women that played for him that love him. And all I could think of was, I don't feel that way where I'm at.
Right.
And that Tuesday morning, I got up and I went and I ran, trying to get myself in shape. If this is something that I want to do, I don't want to go look like I'm out of shape.
I was the same way.
And I made that phone call that morning, and I said, hey, good morning. And I was like, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I want to go into the transfer portal. And it was like crickets on the other side.
Yeah.
And I was like, and my coach.
Hello?
My coach at Memphis was like, well, what? I trust you because I'm not somebody that dives into something head first.
Right.
I'm an overthinker. I overdo everything. I overanalyze it. I'm very analytic about everything. And she was like, well, I trust you. And she was like, is there anything we could have done? And at that moment, I was already so relieved. I was like, no. I was like, this is something that I've got to do. I want to be closer to my family. And this is just something that I want to do. This is something that I've been praying about for a long time, talking about it. And like you said, I felt like a weight that was so heavy on my shoulders had been lifted. Like, I could finally breathe. Like, it felt like somebody had put a cinder block on my chest, and then, somehow it broke, and, I was able to breathe. It was crazy.
It's crazy because you sit on the mental battle for months for, a 3-minute conversation.
Yeah.
To just,
literally.
No, yeah, it's only 3 minutes, yes. And it was just, short and quick and to the point, and it was like, okay, that's it.
Well, mine actually. So, because even after I talked with her, again, she pushed me and stuff, but, even it just took me just a few more days to kind of just really wrap my head around it. And then I just remember sitting at a Mexican food restaurant with my parents, and I just looked at them and I was like, I'm going to do it. I literally walked outside and I called our coach and, asked for my release at a Mexican food restaurant out in the patio and stuff. And, and same thing. It just felt like this weight was just lifted off my shoulders. And I just remember, obviously, I was crying, I was upset and stuff.
No, yeah.
But it was just this weight was off my shoulders. But then it was another weight kind of fell back on. And I was like, what if nobody wants me? Where am I going to go?
No,
right?
That's just your immediate response because it's backstory. Sophomore year was not a good year for me. So it's how are those stats going to look to those coaches that I'm transferring to?
Right, that was
they're going to go in and look at my batting average, how many people I throw out because I catch and, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? It's okay. God's got me. Yeah. And I'm going to be happy wherever I'm at. And that's all that continued to carry me on. I was like, you know what? I don't have to go to some big school in some big city. I could go to a school that's right down the street from where I'm at home.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I didn't go there. But, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we all, like, maybe have an idea of a backup plan of, like, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything. Like, whenever I first started getting in mind, like, the thought of wanting to transfer, I was like, I finally just came to the conclusion with myself. I was like, somebody's going to pick me up or I'm going to the Navy. It was like, it was one of the two. And I was like, well, you know what? I guess I'll just live life there. But no, I really had it. My sophomore year tore me down so bad mentally. Like, I didn't want to play anymore.
No.
Like, it was also kind of like, if I don't get picked up again, oh well. But, like, thank God that was not the case.
Yes.
And so I guess, like, the next kind of question or topic is, did y'all have an idea of where you were going to go before you got your release?
I kind of already had an idea because I had reached out to some of my former teammates I'm still friends with about how their experience was transferring. And so I was trying to learn from them and how to go about things. And so for me, it was just, you know, going off of kind of how they were telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really personally had no idea. I didn't know what to do after I was in the portal. I was like, well, people are going to contact me, but what do I do next? And so reaching out to former teammates kind of helped me with that. And, I mean, I'm thankful that they were able to help me because if not, I mean, I don't know where I'd be right now anyways.
Right. And, like, what even are the rules about transferring?
Exactly.
Because I didn't know hardly anything except for you can't talk to another coach until you have your release.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I knew. I personally didn't even know about the transfer portal. Because I played at a D2, and the year I transferred was the year they added the transfer portal to D2. They may have had, like, a little bit of it, like, just splashed here and there between D2, like, transfers, but it was not, like, open to all divisions, all schools.
Yeah.
And so he was like, whenever I asked for my release, he was like, all right, well, you sign this paper and go talk to Casey tomorrow, which was our, like, athletic, like, head in athletics, whatever. And he was like, and she'll get you in the portal. And I was like, I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but I didn't want to ask questions. I just wanted to get out of there.
And, like,
so I was like, yeah, all right, cool. So I texted. I was really close with Casey Wiley in the athletic department. So I texted her. I was like, I just letting you know, like, I'm transferring. I'm sure you'll hear from Coach soon, but what's the transfer portal?
Yeah. Like, what are the rules? Like, I felt like even when I went in, I had no background knowledge. And whenever I made the phone call, she really didn't help me out, like, at all.
No.
And
She
so
was
I'm
like, I'll send so-and-so something, and then someone, I don't know, what was his name?
Pretty much probably the same thing.
reached
Yeah,
out
it
and
was
he
kind of
was-
like, okay, what do I do next?
Yeah.
And then I was like, emails kind of came in,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I can respond because I'm in it now.
Yeah,
finally.
and I thought I was like, it's not a physical thing that you can look at. Or is it now? Because it wasn't whenever I was
The
transferred.
portal?
Yeah.
You can, like, look and see, like, who's in there and
Really?
stuff.
That was not a thing for me. It may have been for Division I, but I came from a D2. So it was not. I was like, okay, I don't even know if I'm actually in here. Like, if they're just telling me that I'm in here, and I don't know if I really
Coaches
am.
have, like, a specific access to, like, see, like who you are, positions. Like, I think they have, like, access to, like, maybe stats. I don't know if they do, but I know, like, they have, like,
Right.
year, position, things like
All
that.
the basics.
So
Right.
if they're looking for, say, 2021 pitcher, you basically file it down to 2021 pitchers, and there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah,
Email
so
who
crazy.
you want.
So nice. But as a player, can you access it?
You can't access what the coaches see.
No.
You can just see who's in
Yeah,
the
like
portal?
my dad can like pull up like the transfer portal and see like all the girls that are in it
Gotcha.
and like the school that they're transferring from. But and then like if they go somewhere, it'll say where they went to. But that's like the only thing he can see. He can't even see like positions, anything like that.
Oh,
I
really?
don't think.
Okay. That's very helpful information. For me, there was nothing for me to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't even know if they did something mess up when they were putting in my info, whatever. Until I started getting some emails, and I was like, okay, these have to come from the portal because how else would they know?
Yeah,
I didn't email
exactly.
these coaches. Me personally, whenever I had the idea of transferring, I did talk to one other person other than my parents, about like just talking to her about transferring. And it was my grad assistant from my freshman year. So she wasn't a coach anymore, or she worked in compliance. So she knew all like the little rules. So I was like talking to her, making sure I didn't do anything wrong. She helped me out a lot. And she was like, look, as soon as you get your release, let me know and I'll talk to whoever I can to help you out. And I was like, okay, thank you. So like I had that little bit of assurance, just a little bit. It wasn't a lot, but like it was a little bit. But I guess we're just like going off in conversation, but if you're listening and you're considering transferring, or you're scared to make the college decision or anything, because what if it's not the right fit and you end up having to transfer? It's okay. Like, it's okay to transfer. Don't ever think that it's not okay to transfer, because it is. Because there is a place for everybody. And if you think that you're not going to find anywhere to go, like maybe you're not going to go to University of Texas, maybe you're not going to go to LSU, but there is some place for everybody, literally everybody. Like, you can go, and there's some really, really bad softball in college, you know, and sometimes you just look at some teams and you're like, yeah, there really is. There's a place for everybody. Like,
yeah, like, for real.
Not saying that, like, anybody listening that you're bad, obviously, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're, like, if you get in the portal, like, you're going to get picked up by somebody. I was getting emails from places I had never even heard of. Like, all over the country.
Yes.
Man, the day I signed to Tarleton, so whenever I was in the portal, I was like, I want to go to Florida. I want to go somewhere I can surf.
Yeah.
And here I am in the literal dead center of Texas. But I was like, I want to go somewhere that I can go surf in my downtime. And as soon as I pressed send to Coop, I got a freaking email from, like, it was somewhere, like, right on the coast of one of the Carolinas by, like, one of the most beautiful surf spots. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, can I turn my internet off real quick so that email doesn't go through? But just all these things. I was like, oh, my God. I ran outside, and I was like, Dad. It's like, look at this. And he was like, oh, my God, did you send it already? I was like, yeah. He was like, that's where you're supposed to be. I was like, all right. Yeah. There wasn't any past that, but that's just a little funny story. But there is somewhere to go for everybody. Everybody.
A while back, I had, like, seen a tweet from somebody or something, and he basically was talking about how, like, bad the transfer portal was, or in a negative aspect, and, like, I just couldn't help but, like, look at it and just be like, how? Like, I mean, to an extent, I guess you can, like, consider, like, oh, so I'm leaving because I'm not getting playing time, like, you know, but at the same time, like, why would you not want these athletes to go somewhere and be somewhere happy? That's, like, one thing about sports right now is, like, mental health is being so, like, what is the word? Like, it's preached right now and stuff, and it's a great thing that it is, because whenever I was younger, mental health, like, nobody cared. You struck out, you just get your butt back in the dugout. Like, I don't know.
You better sprint back in and sprint back out.
Yeah, and so it was like, no, obviously when you're younger and stuff, maybe it's not like mental health, but it's like even in high school and stuff, like, I mean, you know, I love my parents to death, but I think even like a little bit of that, like, I think they're having to learn the mental aspect of, like, how this game really does affect us, especially in college, being student athletes, like. And so, you know, and I think that's where the portal, like, really comes in big, is just athletes actually having this chance to, in a more efficient and easier manner, of being able to be somewhere where they're happy and their mental health is taken seriously, stuff like that. And, you know, and I think the portal's a good thing in more ways than not.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Not too long after I went into the portal, I had a conversation with he's an older man. He's, like, probably in his 60s. He gives pitching lessons, and he coached me for a season. And he was like, you know, I just don't like that portal because it makes the coaches at universities have to fight for their players. And that just stuck with me, because I was like, well, wouldn't you want to fight for your players that you've got there?
We're fighting for our spots on the field.
That's what I
Why aren't they fighting for us?
We're fighting for everything we have to get there, and we're their family, correct? Yeah. Wouldn't you want to fight for your family? Wouldn't you want to put up a wall for your family? Like, so when he said that, I immediately knew I made the right decision, because I was not getting that there. Yeah. As much as people thought that it may be, you know, kind of what was going on and that was our atmosphere, it wasn't. It was more of, we're going to say we're a family, but we're still
We're
divided, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like, it was like here, there was a group here, there's a group here, there's a cliques, all that stuff. So when he said that, I knew immediately in my heart, I was like, thank you, Lord, because that just right there is my sign to know I made the right decision. And I hadn't even signed yet anywhere. I was still getting emails, but from that point on, I was like, you know what? I already know I made the right decision doing what I'm doing, regardless of where I end up.
Yeah, I agree. We're wrapping up, I promise y'all. How long were y'all in the portal before coaches started to reach out to you?
I was getting emails the next morning.
Within like 7 hours, I got my first email, and it's from a school like up in the Northeast, and I was like,
you don't want any business with.
I was like, the goal is to be a little bit closer to home, so this is more out of range. But it was like nice to know that it was that reassurance of, hey, you know what? Just because you had a bad year, just because you're down on yourself, does not mean that you're not gonna go somewhere. And I feel like, people can say, like we talked about, the portal could be bad, but grief, it gave me a lot of confidence in myself that it was like, okay, somebody wants me. Regardless if I want to go there, somebody at least wants me, and it kind of makes you feel a little good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes you get a little bit of like, okay, yeah, I'm not bad. I don't suck,
And well, so I was committed to UT Arlington before Memphis, actually. And whenever Coach Fox and Coach Jarvis ended up leaving to coach at UNLV, I decided to decommit. That's whenever I made my commitment to Memphis shortly after. And so what I thought was crazy is I think it was the day after, because I went to the portal that night, and then the next morning, or that morning and stuff, like later that day, Coach Jarvis and stuff, he had emailed me.
Oh, really?
And then he'd reached out and stuff and just checking in on me. And it may not even, obviously I think there was some interest there or whatever, but it was just kind of the fact of he still thought about me, and he still, both of them still thought about me as a player, and and they wanted me to follow them to UNLV, and I was like, I don't know if I can go to Las Vegas now. And and then I had one of the other schools I had gone on a visit to, Southeastern Louisiana, and Rick Freeman, or Coach Freeman there, he emailed me too, and just on it about wanting me. And that, again, like you said and stuff, it was a huge confidence booster to know that they literally went in there and probably looked at my stats and did not care, because they know who I am as a player. They've seen me before or stuff like that, and it just kind of made you feel good. And that was something whenever I talked to Coach Phillips before coming here, was she's known, she told me that, because she's, lives up in Granbury, obviously coaches here at Tarleton, and stuff, she's known about me since I was in high school, and she's like, I don't care about your stats last year. I know what you can do, and stuff. And that just right there, just we talked about this before, just about how we just feel so confident coming in here. Our coaches have instilled that in us, and it wasn't the same at our old school.
It most definitely wasn't. The fact of, coming here, and I remember sitting, when I came and visited, Coombs talking, Coach Coompian is sitting there, and he's talking to me, and he's like, I don't care. Like what you said, it's I don't care. I've seen what happened the year before. I've seen this. I've seen video, and that's it.
That's all they have to do is see one short video. They can watch 2 at-bats and know what they want.
And he was like, and I can just tell by the way that you're sitting here having a conversation with me that you're the type of kid, or you're the type of young lady that I want on my team. And it was, first of all, Stephenville sold itself to me already.
Not me.
But sitting there and having a one-on-one conversation, being, personable and having that talk, that just clears up all the insecurities that you have about yourself. Mm-hmm. And so, hearing him say that, it just makes you feel like makes me feel like I'm 6 feet tall and that I can hit a ball 450 feet.
Right.
Whenever I'm 5'4" and I can barely hit it 190. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a huge thing for me too. Even just having conversations with Coach Coombe, whenever I had never heard of this school before in my life.
I know. Tell me about it.
Never heard of this school before in my life. And the girl I was talking about that worked in compliance, my old GA, she went to the same school. She played at the same school as Coach Phillips did. And
Really?
Coach Phillips is our pitching coach. And they played at the same school, and she was like, they don't directly know each other. They may have met a couple of times. But after I got my release, she was like, well, let me reach out to her. Let me reach out to her for you and see what they need. 'Cause that's another thing. Go somewhere where you are in need. When you're searching for schools and coaches to email after you get your release, go on their roster.
See who's graduating, who's leaving.
Who's graduating, who's leaving.
If there's been red shirts.
Yep.
Anything.
All that. You have to do your research. You can't just blindly go emailing all these schools, all your pipe dream schools, because they may email you back. They're like, in their head, they're like, oh, yeah, we need a bullpen catcher, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to go play third base for UT. And they're like, oh, we need a bullpen catcher. You have to do your research on what they need, you know?
Yeah.
And you've got to look at their record, too, because obviously, like we've all said indirectly, winning or losing, it matters. It affects.
Yeah.
It affects you.
It does. Winning covers up stuff, and losing brings everything to light.
Yep, it really does. And, I mean, yeah, that's a huge thing. I had some coaches email me, and I was like, oh, these are in cool places. Like, that'd be cool to go to school there. Oh, their campus is beautiful. And then I look at their record, and they're like 7-40. I'm like, just kidding. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. Like, it matters. Like, even now, if they have like a pretty neutral record, like, yeah, go there. Don't go.
Yeah.
Don't only look at places that have like
Yeah.
they're 40-7. You know, like they have just this out of pocket record. You know, but like that's huge too. Do your research. Do your research. That is huge.
Yeah.
And also, which nowadays with Twitter and all that, that's come way after my like recruiting era.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many years you've been in school for? This is your third year.
Their third year.
So this is my 5th year. So like our recruiting era is a little bit different.
Yeah.
When I was getting recruited, it was all having like recruiting videos.
Yeah.
There was no social media and emails,
Emails, yes.
recruiting videos, and like physical letters sent to coaches. We did not use Twitter, and we did not use Facebook, whatever they're freaking using now to get recruited. No, I didn't even have a Twitter until like my junior year of high school. Like
I had one, but it had nothing to do with softball on it.
Softball. So what I did whenever I got my release, which I'm a media major, it's like I know how to do all this stuff. Me and my mom teamed up one day, and we sat at the computer for like probably 10 hours going through every single game where I had like a hit in, and I went and found the videos like from the live stream and clipped them, and I made essentially like a recruiting video for college, like halfway through college, I guess I should say.
I did the same thing. I have a good friend from back home, and he actually, like, we went to school together, and he now works at like my old high school, and he's a tech guy. And I said, hey, I need your help. Like, I got to get this video together. And sure enough, he helped me, and we were able to do it, and I was able to send it to everybody that was, you know, somewhat interested, or, you know, I was interested. And once I was fully released and I was able to communicate and do all that stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I guess, since this is y'all's first year here, and y'all use videos just literally this year, I guess that's still a thing. But, I mean, give the coaches, like, what they want to see. I mean, I didn't give them my bats. My sophomore year, like you were saying, like, your stats weren't great. My sophomore year, my stats were awful. I mean, it was also had a huge factor of, like, mentally.
Yes.
And, like, also just everything mentally of, like, wanting to transfer, like, knowing you're not happy and everything. It affects the way you play, for sure. Like, in the last podcast, whenever me and Morgan Medford were talking about, like, just the whole mental aspect of things, it affects everything. It affects everything you do. Like, even a bad day at practice affects, like, everything, you know? But, like I was saying, the mental aspect of my sophomore year was so bad, and I played terrible my sophomore year. Like, I don't even know why the man left me on the field. Like, he only left me on the field because of my defense, honestly, because, like, my offense, not cutting it, you know? So, like, my stats, after, like, whenever I was transferring, that was a huge thing. I was terrified because I was like, my stats are awful. Like, I was batting in the 100s. Like, it was bad. And so I was terrified. I was like, nobody's going to pick me up because of my stats. I was like, so, like, that video probably helped me a lot. But we've been running a little while here, just going off and rambling. So I guess we'll wrap it up with, is there anything, this is a big one. I mean, I know we've kind of touched about this a lot, like, periodically. But if you had to say one specific thing that you know now that you wish you would have known before you transferred, like, if you could dial it down to one thing, what would it be?
For me, I guess it would just be that don't be afraid to make the decision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked about it earlier. I felt like, if I made this decision, then I was leaving my team. I was leaving my coaches. I was leaving the city that I had been living in for 2 years. I was leaving a dream that I had had since I was 15 when I committed there. It's tough, making this decision. But what I wish I would have known is that it's okay to make that decision for yourself, to make it better for you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I struggled with because I feel like I'm such a loyal person. Like, man, I seriously cannot stand when people are just like
Flaky.
just cut you off.
Just leave.
So for me, it was it's okay to do this, and it's gonna be okay either way. Like we said, like our teammates understood for the most part.
For the most part, I think we got a lot of support out of it.
We did, and it was good, and we ended up kind of going together, and we ended up in the same place together. So
I think a lot of people expected it.
Yeah, like for real. But it's okay to transfer. I hate the fact that people are like, it's so bad and it's selfish. Yeah, it is selfish, but when you're doing something to better off yourself, then why wouldn't you do it?
You gotta be selfish sometimes in your life,
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
That's something I've always thought about. And it's not to sound in a bad manner or anything, but it's just almost in life sometimes you do have to make selfish decisions for yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know for me and stuff, my biggest deal was whenever I made that decision is I wanted to make the decision for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want it to be my parents telling me I should or I shouldn't. I didn't want it to be, somebody telling me, oh, don't do it. Or my friends, back home because they wanted me to be closer to home.
Right.
I didn't want them to be like, Chyanne, no, come to Texas. I wanted it to be my decision. And I think for the most part, I made it my decision.
Yeah.
That's good. That is a huge thing. I've never really thought about that consciously until you say that. Obviously get the positive feedback from people.
Yeah. Get the assurance, I guess, or the conversations you need to have.
Right.
But
The actual productive conversations, not you were saying your friends are come back to Texas. Come to
Yeah.
Texas.
It's those deep conversations.
Yeah, it's the deep conversations that will help you know for sure where you need to be. Because, whenever I was talking, like I told you, I talked to my old GA before I transferred, about it, and she was like, I think that would be a great idea for you. Honest to God, that is huge. I think that is huge. And I feel like before I transferring wasn't really talked about to me either. So for me, one thing that I wish I would have known is that it was an option and that it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
Because, it's okay to, not be okay with where you're at.
yeah.
And that is something that I just wish everybody knew that. And it's also where you start playing, it's not a wrong decision.
Mm-mm.
Because you've grown.
You've learned.
You've learned
Exactly.
lessons that you're going to take with you the rest of your life.
Relationships, anything.
Yes.
You've built people. That's what I told my parents. I was like, do I wish that I would have gotten to give my whole college career to this university?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I wish I would have been able to be True Blood,
yes,
full out Texan.
Me and Brady
from
were
the
going to
start
get
the
901 tatted on the inside of our lips.
I have a lip tat from my old school, actually, that you say that. That's funny. I do, and it's still there.
So, something that I remember telling my parents as we're literally moving out of my house in Memphis over the summer was, I feel like I've given so much to this school that I am losing part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's that mental part. It's that mental and emotional part of where you're going in every day, you're putting in the extra work, you're trying to give all you have mentally, physically, emotionally, to where you're losing part of yourself. And I'm just glad that you said that. It's okay to not be okay where you are. It really is. And I'm such a stickler. I'm a perfectionist, so it's everything's gotta be perfect. But guess what? It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I feel like everything just goes back to mental health. It really
Yes,
does.
It does.
Really does.
Your mental health matters in every little situation.
Yes.
But, yeah, so I feel like I could talk about this for hours.
Hours,
but
we could.
we really could, but people gonna get bored, so we gotta wrap it up. But yeah, so like just to conclude it all, it's like it's okay to not be happy where you are. It's okay to move schools. The grass is greener on the other side in most cases.
It can be.
It can be, right. And I just want to preface this too. I guess it's not really preface because it's at the end, but I just want to say that in this episode, we are not trashing any coach or any player or anybody from any previous schools, because for other people, that is exactly where they need to be.
Yes.
For some people, Southern Arkansas, that's exactly where they need to be.
And for
That
some
kind of
people-
coaching and that kind of environment, everything, that's exactly where they need to be. And I'm sure they can say the exact same
And
for
for
Memphis.
Memphis, I mean, I'm telling you what, like, if you love culture, Memphis has that. If you love, if you just love music and barbecue.
Yeah,
and
barbecue. They got some
you
good
love
food.
all that, like, that may be a place for you. And, it could just be our experience. But,
Yeah.
speaking personally, it wasn't the right fit for us. But that doesn't mean that you can't go
It
out
won't
there
be the
and
right
you
fit for
can't
anybody else.
thrive. And
Yeah.
you can't make friendships. Like, I've made friends there that I know I'm going to have for a long time, whether I see them or I don't see them. But because of the love that we have for one another and the respect that we have, and, so I will love Memphis. It will always have a place in my heart. But I knew that it was time for me to make that disconnect and to move forward into something else. But gosh, I'll always love Memphis, and I'll love those coaches, and I'll love all my teammates, but it was just not it for me.
Right. And I can say the same thing. I mean, there's, like, for instance, Faith Otts, she wouldn't care me saying her name on here. She loved Southern Arkansas. That was exactly where she needed to be. She was from a small town in Arkansas as well. She went to a smaller town to go to school and play ball, but, like, that is exactly where she needed to be, and she bled blue and gold. Like, she was a mule rider at heart. She still is to this day. I'm sure she's still repping it proud, but, like, she was exactly where she needed to be. But my walk and her walk is different.
Exactly. We all have different paths.
Everybody's got a different path, and, maybe God sent y'all to Memphis so that y'all could get closer and y'all can meet other people.
Exactly.
Because without going there for those 2 years, or year and a half, I guess, technically, because COVID, y'all wouldn't have made the connections and learned and grown.
No, I mean, for real, it was so weird. Like, you're going to UTA and then you decommitted, and my dad.
That almost felt like God opening one door and closing another, or closing one door and opening another, and then it's kind of like the same situation. And I just think, like, maybe like at the end of the day, like, it was like something like, not that Memphis was just such a terrible experience, because it had its great moments.
Yeah, it did.
But it's like, maybe God wanted us to experience that so that here in Stephenville, we can truly be thankful for what we're what we're experiencing right now.
Exactly. And I mean, when you go through something with a person that's not in your family, and maybe you haven't known them your whole life, like I haven't known Chyanne since maybe we're 14, and I've caught her since then. But gosh, when you go through stuff and like you cry together and you laugh together and you yell and scream together, and like that stuff that you will cherish for the rest of your life. And I mean, those experiences, I wouldn't have that without her and without Memphis and without Lori. And I mean, how thankful can you be that you get to be in school with somebody that you see as your best friend?
Yeah,
for real.
Definitely. I mean, my best friend was a huge factor in whenever I went to Southern Arkansas, because what happened with me, which y'all have heard already in the first episode, is I was originally signed to an NAIA in Alexandria, and I mean, I just didn't have just an amazing recruiting process growing up, just because of lots of things. But 2 weeks before my freshman year started, the head coach left. He's coaching somewhere up in New Mexico or something, regardless. But then the athletic department didn't hire back any of the existing coaches. So I was like, well, crap, I don't want to play for somebody I've never met before, like a whole new thing. So I had 2 weeks to find a new school. And that summer I was actually playing tournament ball with the coach that recruited me for LSUA. And he called me on the way to like one of our last tournaments, and he was like, hey, kid, so they didn't hire us back. He says, we've got 2 days to get you re-recruited. And whenever I tell y'all my heart dropped, I was like, what? But, like, I also was at peace about it. And sure enough, he had, like, 4 coaches waiting for me in the lobby when I got to the hotel. So, like, I was at peace about that, too. But, yeah, like, my best friend had a huge factor in where I went to school. She actually texted the coach for me. He wasn't even –
You will not believe it. She did the same for him.
I was like, look, I just explained the whole thing to her because we had been on the same travel team up until that summer because I wanted to play for my future college coach, you know?
Yeah.
And, I just texted her, like, letting her know everything that was going on. She was like, well, I can text Anderson. And I was like, nah, I don't want that to be awkward for you. And she was like, no, he's cool. I'll text him. Just let him know. And sure enough, he called me within, like, a couple hours. And he was like, hey, I'm Jason Anderson. Da, da, da. He was like, come see Southern Arkansas. I was like, all right, I'll be there tomorrow. Like, you know, and I had multiple offers, like, just within those couple of days. It's kind of crazy. It's more offers than I had ever had before. But, that had a huge impact of where I went. And we also left together also.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't go play again, but.
No, I mean, just God works in mysterious ways, whether you realize it or not. You learn lessons, and then you get to experience life in a whole new light.
Mhm.
Yeah, y'all are lucky. Y'all transferred together. At least y'all knew y'all had somebody.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this
and
place.
Jordan, I mean, transferring here, we knew Jordan Dickerson. I mean, we played with her, and we were good friends. We were roommates our last 2 summers together, and that was helpful. And played with Miranda for a summer.
Amanda.
And Amanda,
Oh, really?
yeah. And I knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whenever I transferred, I had between, like, 2 or 3 schools. And at each school, I had a friend that played there. It was, like, it was in Louisiana. Like, you know, super ideal situations. Man, one of the schools, I had, like, 4 friends that went there. It's like you would think. And, I had a very possible spot, you know. But, yeah, then I came on my visit to Tarleton. I didn't know anybody here. I was like, he told me, he was like, I need some more speed in the outfield, whatever. Regardless, I didn't have, like, a guaranteed playing spot or anything. I mean, nobody really does whenever they're coming in. But I didn't know anybody here, didn't know where the heck this was, didn't know how to get there by heart, nothing. I'd hardly even been to this side of Texas before in my life, you know? Like, the odds were definitely full on against Tarleton, and I just was like, yep, Tarleton, that's where I'm going. That's where I need to be. And I'm so thankful that I did. I've had my ups and downs, but so thankful that I'm here.
Yes.
But, all right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you all for coming and talking about all your life experiences. And is there anything that y'all think was unsaid?
Nope.
No.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're out there listening and you're considering transferring or you're getting ready to make your college decision, make sure it is definitely the right fit for you in all aspects of life outside of just softball. I think that was a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so thank y'all for listening, and we will have the next episode up shortly. Y'all stick around.
Woohoo!